Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to come check out this video. My name is Josh. I'm a photographer based out of North Florida, and I make videos about photography equipment and the business of photography in general. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Canon RP and why I believe it can be used professionally. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I really like this camera, 3 things I don't like about it, and I'm going to also tell you who I think this camera is for, and I'll also kind of give you some tips for using the camera as well. So the first thing I love about this camera is the image quality. Now you're getting Canon's famous color science, you're getting tack sharp images, you get use of the RF mount, which actually has some amazing glass with it. You're getting great dynamic range, and I say great dynamic range because unless you're shooting like 3 stops underexposed and then trying to boost your shadows, you're never really going to encounter any issue with the dynamic range. So I know that was one thing that people criticized when this camera first came out, but in my opinion it's really a non-issue. Now, if you're a believer in color science like I am, then this is going to get you that beautiful Canon color science that everyone kind of raves about. Just keep in mind that that is a personal preference. For example, my fiance, she shoots with Fuji and she absolutely loves the Fuji colors and she doesn't love the Canon colors as much. Personally, I love Canon colors, so I like Canon more than Fuji. So just keep in mind that color science is subjective and it's not an outright kind of like Canon is the best. So yeah, as far as image quality goes, I have nothing to complain about with this camera. I think that it shoots just great looking images that are absolutely capable of professional use. So reason number 2 why I really like this camera is its value. Now for $900 used, around $1,000 brand new, you really can't beat this camera. The only thing you could do, say from a professional photography point of view, is you could go out and you could purchase maybe a 5D Mark III, or if you want to go over to Nikon, there's the D600, D610, D750, all those around $1,000 or less. And that would be up to you. When I had to make that decision, I ended up going for the EOS RP because I didn't want to lose all the really cool autofocus advancements that have happened within, say, the last 10 years. So that's not to say you can't make amazing images with those older DSLRs. Just keep in mind they are older DSLRs. And reason number 3 why I really like this camera is the ergonomics. The ergonomics on Canon cameras in general are really good. This camera is amazing. I came from Fuji, and Fuji cameras did not have amazing ergonomics. Everything is pretty much where you need it on this camera. A lot of people will even criticize this camera saying that there aren't enough professional buttons available on the camera body, but I actually disagree. I think that there's a lot of customization that can be had in the EOS RP, and I had absolutely no problem transitioning between my other camera bodies, which had more dials and more buttons, and the EOS RP. And in fact, one thing that absolutely surprised me is how much I prefer using the touch screen to move my autofocus points over a joystick. And again, that's a personal decision. Some people really love a joystick, but in my opinion, it takes way longer to get across your focus area with a joystick than it does with using your finger on the touchscreen. So that's something I actually, even if I had a more professional body like the Canon R6 or the R5, I would still probably be using that touchscreen focus option. Not to mention the fact that I actually rarely need to adjust my focus manually because the eye autofocus works for me so well. So there's just something that feels so good about holding the EOS RP. Like its size, its weight, it's just so incredibly convenient, and it makes me want to pick it up and shoot with it like all the time. Alright, so I told you about the 3 things that I like most about the camera. Now I'm going to tell you 3 things that I don't like about the camera. The first thing I dislike about the camera is going to be the battery life. So the battery life isn't fantastic per single battery. They are actually pretty small. But on the flip side, you can buy several for about 20 bucks, get a couple with the charger, and they're pretty cheap. Coming from Fuji, I am very familiar with having to work with tiny batteries. The only thing I would say that like the Fuji had over the Canon EOS RP is that Fuji sells actual battery grips for the X-T3, X-T2, X-H1, all those cameras, which Canon does not sell for the EOS RP. They do, however, sell it for the EOS R, so if you like some of the advantages that the EOS R has, maybe consider that. But for me, because the ergonomics are so good and because I don't really mind just carrying around a few extra batteries with me, I'm okay with that downside. So the second thing I dislike about the EOS RP is the single card slot. This is going to be the major thing that holds up a lot of professional photographers from using this camera. Having said that, Canon does offer the Canon app, which is pretty nifty. It works out really well. It's by far the best camera app I've used from all the big manufacturers, but still it's not the same as being able to have that in-camera redundancy. The third thing that I dislike about the camera, and it's not really that big of a deal, is the slow frames per second and continuous autofocus. So for example, if you're in continuous burst mode and you've got it set to high, you're only going to get around 4 to 5 images per second. It might even be lower. I've heard as low as 2.6 frames a second, but it really doesn't feel that slow to me. The flip side of this is the fact that it basically has like an unlimited buffer, especially if you're using a fast card. So for me, I think I would rather take slower frames per second with an unlimited buffer than getting a ton of images really quick and then you're sitting there for about 30 seconds waiting for your images to buffer. I really hate that. So it's not a big deal for me. That's really what it comes down to with all these disadvantages. Is it a big deal for you? So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. I appreciate it if you stuck around this far. Let me know in the comment section if you're shooting with the RP and what you think of it, or if you're using it for professional purposes or maybe it's just for fun. I'd love to know. But until the next video, guys, thanks again, and I will catch you later.